Alright you guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Dylan Lustig, and in today's video I just sort of wanted to talk about long tube headers. And the reason I want to talk about long tube headers is, well, if you're new here, I am the owner of this 5th gen Camaro, and it does have the Speed Engineering 1/7/8 long tube headers. And recently, ever since I got this car cammed, these headers have been giving me a ton of issues. And most recently, my car has done a P0171 code, which, as we can see right here, we look at our scanner, we've got P0171, which is a lean code. Now the car has just been sitting here for, I don't even know, maybe a month now. I haven't been able to use it because I've had this code. I've already done a whole bunch of work to it in the time that I could. And recently I did an inspection and it looks like I'm leaking from up here where the header is. And looking back on it now, a lot of the issues that I'm having with the headers could have been avoided had I looked at like the installation of headers in a different light when I first started modifying this car some 2 or 3 years ago. So what I want to do for you guys is give you sort of 2 big things that you really need to think about before you install long tube headers. That way you don't end up in the same position that I am, which is having to backtrack, regret a whole bunch of decisions I made because I was uninformed on this subject. Now, I do want to say, if by the end of this video you found the information that I've given useful at all, if you could do me the favor of hitting that subscribe button, it really does go a long way. If you agree, if you disagree, if you have any advice that you'd want to give anybody that sees this video, go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section below. I do my best to answer all of the comments. And with all that said, let's get into it. So the first important thing is simply understanding that long tube headers are not a cold air intake and they're not a catback exhaust. And what I mean by that is that it's not a mod that you can just do one thing. You can just throw your cold air intake on, or you can just change out your exhaust. You don't have to worry about anything else and you're good. That's not what long tube headers are. For example, if you're doing long tube headers, you're already in there, you might as well do some general maintenance, change out your spark plugs. If you're changing out your spark plugs, understand that headers come with added heat. So you might want to upgrade your factory spark plug boots if you have them. You could do the heat little boot that goes onto those factory ones, or you can upgrade to just some better ones, some ceramic ones. Heat, that's another thing. If you're going to do the headers, it's probably best that you get them ceramic coated because you want to keep those underhood temperatures down. For the 5th gen Camaro, the factory header doesn't do what long tube headers do. Long tube headers reach down and they end up aligning themselves right next to where the starter motor is. And what happens is that extra heat that we talked about will cook those starter motors. So when you're down there, if you get them ceramic coated, you might as well also change out your starter and put a starter heat shield on. Another thing, ease of installation. I didn't even know that header studs were a thing when I first installed my headers. Now, man, I wish I had some ARP header studs. It would make installing them so much easier because you just put the stud in and then you can mount the gasket and then mount the header and then just tighten it down with a bolt, or with a nut, I should say, rather than having to thread the bolt through the header, line it up with the gasket, and then also line it up at the head. And so when you start piling these things on and start looking at long tube headers as a system installation, because you have to have reliability, you have to have durability, and you have to have those underhood temperatures down, when you start looking at them like that, the price of that header installation really goes up. And we haven't even talked about getting a nice tune from a reputable tuner, somebody that knows what they're doing. Right? All that stuff, it adds up. So that's why I say when doing a long tube header install, the number one most important thing that I can tell you guys is understand that it is more of a system installation versus a singular mod, right? It's not a cold air intake. Because suppose you do what I did. I just installed the headers and I said, well, damn, I've got a race car. What ends up happening is you start to have cascading little failures happen one at a time. Right? It starts with just a simple spark plug boot. Well, man, now I gotta go buy spark plug boots. Or, hey man, my car's starting to crank a little bit slow. Well, it's all that extra heat that you added from the header that's right next to the starter motor. Or, man, my car gets heat soaked really quickly because you didn't ceramic coat your headers and now your IATs are up. right? So all those little things, if you don't do them the first time, what's going to end up happening is you're going to have to end up backtracking, spending money and time on mods that you should have just done the first time. Now, the second thing that you absolutely need to know before you install headers is that you need to research quality headers for your specific platform before you go and buy some. Now, I am not saying go and research the most expensive header and go spend $2,000 on headers. That's not what I'm saying. I understand that everybody has a budget. Believe me, I know. I'm a young kid. I've got this car. I'm way over my head, and budget is a thing for me. So I understand budget. What I am saying is if you're spending sub $500 on headers from Amazon or eBay, and in my case, Speed Engineering, it's probably not a good header. Now, we'll talk about Speed Engineering and the experience I've had with them in a different video. But in this video, I really want to talk about doing your research. So every platform is different, and every company, the header that they make for each platform is different. The good example I'd like to give you guys is Texas Speed. So for the 5th gen Camaro, I've heard great things about Texas Speed headers. I heard that for the price, they're the most budget option. That's also the most quality option, right? That's kind of the low point that you want to get at to where you want to get into a nice header. Now for the C7 platform, the Corvette platform, I've heard the complete opposite. I've heard Texas Speed headers for those Corvettes are terrible. You shouldn't get them. They fit terrible, and that you should stay away from them, right? And so that's when the research on your part comes in hand, because if you're doing it on the Camaro platform, 5th or 6th gen, or Corvette, a C6, a C5, if you're running a Mustang and you want to get headers for your Mustang, each platform is different, and each platform has a header that is, you know, above the rest, right? So you need to do your research. You need to find out which header is going to be the best for your platform. If you're on a budget, try to find the best bang for your buck, but do not go and buy some Amazon headers, because that is not going to turn out well for you. Now, for my big ballers out there, if you can go out and spend $2,000 on a header system from American Racing or from Cooks and have them ceramic coated and thrown onto the car with all the good stuff, hey man, more power to you. You're gonna have an awesome set of headers on your car that are gonna last for a lifetime. Now for the rest of us brokies or us guys that are on a budget, if it means that you have to save $50 a month for an extra 4 months before you go and buy your headers, then just do that. Be patient, buy quality products, because if not, you're gonna end up like me, having to buy another pair of headers because the ones that I bought didn't last. Now, ultimately, I'm just a YouTuber, a small YouTuber at that, so you do not have to take my word as gospel. But what I will say is 3 years ago, when I first started modifying this car, I wish I would have seen a video like this, or I wish I would have talked to somebody with the knowledge on these things, right? Because if I would have, my build right now, it might not have been as fast, but I will tell you it would have been much more quality, and it would have been a lot less headaches than what I'm having right now. So again, you do not have to listen to me, but I really do recommend that you do, because if not, you're gonna end up like me, drowning in problems. With that all said, that is the end of today's video. Believe me guys, I'm trying my best to get this car running. I just did some work. We'll talk about it in a separate video, but I just switched out these gaskets because my Speed Engineering headers are already warped, so I had to get new gaskets. I switched them out. I am hoping that that clears out the code that's on the engine. That way my car can finally run, because I want to go and have fun with this car. I just can't because it's been giving me problems. Anyways guys, like I said, if you agree or if you disagree, go ahead and leave a comment down below. If you found this video useful, hit that subscribe button for me, please guys. It goes a long way. Any comments, I'll do my best to answer them. And until the next video, I'm out here.